All right. So hi, everyone. It's nice to see everybody out on a beautiful day. I know it's a little windy, but it's still gorgeous outside. I come up from Virginia. It's really hot there, so this is a nice for me. And it's nice to see everybody out supporting Nature Time. It's a really great event this weekend, so that's wonderful. So my name is Wendy Hilliard, and I am an educator with Garden of Life. And I actually I'm new to the company. I have a background as a healthcare practitioner. I'm a chiropractor, actually, and I practiced for a number of years, and I came into the industry just from a passion for the natural products industry. And so I kind of have worked in a couple different capacities in the stores, and now I'm really happy to be an educator with Garden of Life. So at Garden of Life, our mission has always been one of empowering extraordinary health. And we're a leading whole food nutrition company, but more specifically, we're leaders in raw whole food nutrition. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means. But the way that we do this is we do it through quality nutrition products that we provide to the customers. We do it through innovative science behind everything, product development, and of course, education. So our definition of raw at Garden of Life goes well beyond just low temperatures. When we talk about raw, people think about maybe being made with no heat, or more specifically in the nutritional supplement world, it means made with low heat. And that's important because at high temperatures, sometimes the nutrients from food can become compromised, or integrity can become compromised. So since we get our nutrients from food, we want to make sure things are being able to be processed at low temperatures so that that integrity is nice and strong in the product. But our marketing process goes well beyond the low temperature. It basically means that our products are designed to be able to be like nutrients that you get from your food. So we're all meant to get our nutrients from our food, right? That's why we eat food. And so when your supplements, if you need to supplement anything, you want to be able to find nutrients the way that they are found in nature. So, you know, in nature, sometimes, most of the time, nutrients are found synergistically, which means they're found together and they help each other do each other's jobs, okay? So we like to be able to formulate our products so that when you take them into the body will recognize them, and it'll be similar to how you were getting your nutrients from whole food. And so it kind of goes even beyond that. You know, what we're trying to do and what we've done very successfully with the raw line is bringing a line of products to you that are pure and clean. So we don't use any binders, we don't use any fillers. Everything is in powder form or capsules. There's no excipients, so you're not going to see any chemical names on the label. There's literally nothing in these formulations that does not have a nutritive value to it. Okay? So why is raw so important? This is kind of what we want to talk about today. Okay? So this is a picture of about 100 years ago, right? This is how we used to get our food. We had plush farmlands, roaming farm animals. We had clean water and clean air. We had nutrient-dense, rich vegetation, fruits and vegetables, right? Happy cows and happy chickens, that's what we say, right? There wasn't such a thing as organic because there wasn't a need to specify it being organic because it just was, right? There weren't any chemicals being used. Everything was just being farmed naturally. And so back then, we got our nutrients from food, right? We ate our food. We got plenty of nutrients from it. It was an ability to be able to get our nutrients from food without being lacking in anything. Okay, so today this is what it looks like. Okay, I think we can all agree on this. You know, today we have things like chemical farming or pesticides and herbicides are used. It's kind of a dreary picture to paint, but things like fast food, you know, polluted air, contaminated water. We have truck ripening of our fruits and vegetables, and that's something sometimes we don't realize, that when we buy fruits and vegetables in the store, now that they're now mass marketed, or maybe if they're not bought local, it's why buying local vegetation is so important. Because when we don't buy local, sometimes that produce is coming from very far away. And so there's something called what we call truck ripening. And that means that they're picking the fruits and vegetables prematurely so that they'll ripen on the truck. So when they get to the store, they look beautiful, right? And they last a few days in their produce section. Well, when we do that, we're picking the fruits and vegetables prematurely. They're not actually ripened yet, so they haven't reached their full nutritive content. Right? So it's really important. That's why it's kind of important to see where your vegetables and fruits are from local farms, or they've grown organically, herbicides. You know, the U.S. released their food content You know, the change between something like 19 today shows that our is about 20% less content, 20%. Generalization, you know, mass market of fruits and vegetables. So here today and you're supporting the financial time, you know, you're kind of up on the buying organic, which is wonderful. But it's so important because when you're nutrients from fresh fruits and vegetables, factors, and those make like a food matrix. Food, you know, vitamin C components that make it most effective. So when you're buying processed foods, overly processed foods, they have food additives in them. The nutrient content there and the quality and integrity of those nutrients is very low. And so the effectiveness in the body is not going to be that great. So speaking of raw, we're talking about nutrients, right? We're talking about how your body gets nutrients, how it treats nutrients. We're talking about the digestive system. So in the digestive system, it's really the root system of the body, if you think about it. You know, it's basically where the outside environment meets the inside environment. Think about it. It's just one long tube, right? Stuff goes in, stuff comes out, right? It's just one long tube. So it's really where your body is exposed to the outside environment. It's where nutrients are absorbed, where your nutrients are absorbed. It's also sometimes where toxins are absorbed, where toxins build up, okay? So if the gut isn't healthy, it's really impossible for the rest of the body to be healthy. And that's because you can take in the most nutrient-rich, beautiful foods, but if your gut is not healthy, your digestive tract is not healthy and cannot digest those things properly, it's not going to make a very effective difference in the body. So we need to start at the gut. We need to make the digestive system healthy, be able to take in our nutrients, take in our food, break down the nutrients from the food, and be able to have the body use them in the way that it's supposed to use them. All right? So the gut responds very well to raw foods for two reasons. There's probiotics and there's enzymes in raw food. Okay? So we're going to discuss these two things today, and we're going to discuss kind of a little bit of history on both of them, where they come from, what they do for us. So the first thing we're going to talk about is probiotics. Now, probiotics, I think you're all familiar with probiotics, and you know, they're kind of a common thing in the supplement world today. Probiotic, if you break down the word, it means for life. Probiotic, for biology, for life. Okay? So probiotics are friendly bacteria that live in our gut system. Yes, you do have bacteria in your digestive system. You have bacteria all over your body. Okay? It's just inherent to our makeup as a human being. There's actually over 500 different species of probiotics just found in the human digestive system. There's trillions found in the body. So this is a little kind of funny fact for you, is there's about 100 trillion cells, about 100 trillion bacteria in the body. And you have about 1 trillion human cells. Well, wait a minute, what does that mean? I'm more bacteria than I am human? All right? The reality of that is that bacterial cells are microscopic in size. They're so small compared to a human cell. Now, a human cell saying is maybe the size of a basketball, for an analogy, and a microscopic bacteria cell is a pinhead, you know. So don't worry, you're still mostly human. Just in number, you may have a higher count of bacterial cells, okay? But in the small and large intestines, it starts right from your mouth. There's probiotics in the mouth, through down the esophagus, into the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and all the way out. Okay, so that it's really important because these probiotics actually provide a very important role in our health. And directly included in that is the immune health. So a little bit of background with probiotics. When we start jumping into the story, we're going to come and stumble upon this guy, Dr. Eli Metchnikoff. He's known as the father of probiotics. So Dr. Metchnikoff, and we're going all the way back in time to about the late 1800s or so. And Dr. Metchnikoff was working with Louis Pasteur at the Pasteur Institute in the late 1880s. And he became fascinated with the physiology of aging and this concept of senility. And he really was wondering what factors in people's lifestyles directly affect how long they live. And so his research brought him to Bulgaria, and specifically the mountains of Bulgaria. And he came across this particular community of peasants living in the Bulgarian mountains, and they had a lifespan of 87 years old. which was almost double the lifespan back then. We're talking about, this is now the early 1920s, or early 1900s, I should say. And so where the other surrounding countries were maybe living to 50, 55, this particular community was living to 87 years old. So this really kind of made a red flag go up for Dr. Metchnikoff, and he really wanted to research this community. And what he did find out was that this particular community was living on raw milk and drinking maybe over a liter of particular soured milk. And what they would do is they would drink the raw milk from their cows, and what was left over they would put down in the dark cellar, and down there it would end up culturing and thickening on its own, and it turned into what we know today as maybe a drinkable yogurt or a kefir or kefir, right, a soured milk. It's not rotten milk, it's a soured milk. It would naturally ferment, right? Fermentation is just the intentional growth of bacteria and yeast, which are actually mostly beneficial bacteria and yeast that will actually help the gut be healthy. So he discovered that this community was drinking over a liter of this stuff a day. And so he was convinced. He was convinced that this was the reason why they were living so long. So he wanted to really research this particular substance. It came to be known as crème bulgare, right, very popular in Europe, this drinkable yogurt and kefir beverage. So he took it into the lab and he decided to take a really good look at it, and he discovered the first probiotic strain to ever be known. And he named it, in honor of the Bulgarians, he named it Lactobacillus bulgaricus. All right. So you'll see it very, very often. You'll see it out there in yogurts or in some of the probiotics, specifically the ones that we make. And Lactobacillus bulgaricus was, by no doubt, what Dr. Metchnikoff found to be the reason these people were living so long. Because when you take a strong probiotic into the gut, it acidifies the bowel. And an acidic environment in the large intestine actually promotes very good balance of good, beneficial bacteria. Right? So what we're talking about is we're talking about probiotic-rich foods. Okay, you still see these used today. People eat yogurt, they drink kefir, kimchi from the Korean culture, kvass. If you've ever drank a kvass, like a beet kvass is my favorite, it's delicious. And sauerkraut, real sauerkraut, where cabbage is actually fermented into real sauerkraut. These are probiotic-rich foods. These are wonderful sources of probiotics for your body. Today, you know, sometimes the most modern yogurts and dairies and things, sometimes they're not as probiotic rich as they used to be because they are pasteurized. So our modern day dairy intake of milks and cheeses and yogurts are now very kind of lower in probiotic content because high heat of pasteurization kills off bacteria. So if you're really looking for a powerhouse of probiotics, you need to go with a real lacto-fermented yogurt or drinking raw milk or finding these probiotic-rich foods. They're for sale out in the store. And really kind of including these into your diet. Now, if you're not on the board for eating anything up there, right, some people are loving this stuff and some people it's not quite for them. What Garden of Life has done is we've come out with raw probiotics. And it's a line of probiotics that actually mimic eating fermented whole foods. What we're doing with our raw probiotics is we've come out with a line. It's very specific to women and men and women and men 50 and wiser. That's what they look like, and they're outside for sale. And what we've done with them is we're really marrying the old world foods, the old world intake of fermented foods, with the modern day probiotic that most of us know. And so we're putting together this crème bulgare, that Lactobacillus bulgaricus strain from the crème bulgare. We're putting it together with kefir grains, and that's our whole food component. And we're the only ones doing this right now. So it kind of is a different animal on the shelf against the other probiotics. And then we also are putting in the modern concentrated strains of bacteria that are common today. And so what this is giving the body is it's giving the body about 31 to 33 different strains of bacteria. So it's what we say cultural diversity. It's really giving the gut what it needs to kind of fight that battle of the good and bad bacteria. And it's also giving you a very high potency, what we call CFU count, and CFU means colony forming unit. So how many colonies does a single bacteria strain have the capability of forming once it kind of settles into the gut? So these are up around 85 billion or so, and sometimes more. So what we're doing with the raw probiotics, and why is it important, is why would you need a probiotic? right? Sometimes what you're doing is you're taking into the food, and sometimes you notice, oh, I just don't feel like I'm digesting properly, I'm bloated afterwards, I have some pain afterwards, kind of gassy and bloating. Maybe you get very tired after you eat. Everyone needs to take a big meal and you need a nap, right? That battle's going on in the gut. And some of the bad bacteria are winning, because when those guys end up doing their thing, they throw off a lot of somewhat toxic to the body, and it makes us very fatigued. But less little-known symptoms are sometimes when you are bruising very easily, dark circles under the eyes, itchy skin. All these things can be kind of a clue into the fact that maybe your probiotic bank account is not as high as it should be. And it's really about the ratio of good bacteria to bad bacteria. Some of the bad bacteria, the most common one people are talking about is Candida. Right? People are saying, oh, I'm really kind of yeasty and I have a lot of Candida fighting, and whenever I eat, I blow it up like a balloon. You know, that's kind of a real significant symptom of maybe a Candida-rich gut. But there's a lot of different other strains like that. So it's all about ratio. It's all about balance. So with the probiotics, what we've accomplished very well is that if you aren't someone who eats a very rich diet in fermented and cultured foods, we've done it for you in a very convenient capsule. Okay, so these are making differences in a lot of people's lives where maybe other probiotics weren't really cutting it. Where this is actually putting a whole food probiotic into the body, where we're in the same fashion that we're kind of meant to get our probiotics from cultured and fermented foods. You have a question? The ones are different for men and women is just because of our bacterial makeup is a little bit different between a man and a woman. A lot of us as women, we know that there's probiotics out there in general, and there's probiotics out there specifically for us that target maybe a vaginal flora imbalance or a urinary tract imbalance. So there's different strains in the women's that will actually support that. So it's almost like two products in one, where you wouldn't have to go buy a digestive and an intimate one. They've come together. So it's really beneficial. And then, of course, those strains would not be in the men's formula. So, are there any questions on probiotics specifically? Maybe about what? Excuse me? Oh, you take probiotics every day. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're living on a very rich raw food diet, you may be able to adjust your intake. But if you're kind of on an average, even if you're eating a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, just today in American society, things like chlorinated water and the exposure to toxins and pollutants in our environment, we're constantly in this state of combating stresses, right? Not just mental stress, but physical stresses. So there's a lot going on. And so I think in today's society, there's a need for everyday probiotics like there's never been before. The product itself, these are refrigerated. So we keep them in a cool, dry place. We try to keep them refrigerated actually in the fridge. And they're pretty stable as long as you keep them in an environment that's maybe lower than 70, 72 degrees. What probiotics don't like is they don't like extreme temperatures. So if you were to come into the store and buy a probiotic out of the fridge, put it in the car, in a hot car, and drive around and do 6 hours of errands, and then go back to your home and put it back in the fridge. That's a real difference in high and low temperatures, and that's what probiotics don't like. It doesn't necessarily kill them off, it just speeds up their lifespan. So what you're doing is you're decreasing the expiration date on the box is what you're doing. But as long as they're in a stable environment, you know, if you're purchasing them in the store, you're just going home, you're putting them into the house, it's fine. I always tell people it's even fine to take a little travel pill case and put them in the case, put them in your bag, take them to work with you, and they're totally fine. They're very stable. So they are shipped refrigerated. Yeah. When you see these, you'll see this little Arrive Alive logo on here. And these probiotics are made in an environment, a manufacturing environment that's completely controlled under 40 degrees and below 30% humidity. And so from beginning to end, the manufacturing process is kept very cool. And then they're packed in coolers, kept at very low temperature, and then they arrive at the store in a cooler, nice and cold. We do three-day shipping. In the summers, we do 2-day shipping, and we only ship in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we're never shipping over the weekend. So these things aren't sitting in warehouses, in a hot warehouse that's not air conditioned. So the time and the care is taken to make sure that these are manufactured and shipped and arrive alive and cold. Okay. Yes. Well, the particular creme bulgare is actually, we're harvesting strains from the same environment in Bulgaria, and we're taking the strains back into the United States, but they're made in the United States, yes. All right, so let's have a discussion about enzymes. So enzymes are the other huge component to what is in raw food that helps our gut stay healthy. So what do enzymes do? Enzymes are present in all whole foods, and they're present in raw whole foods, so raw fruits and vegetables. That's what you're thinking about. And they can be destroyed at cooking and processing. So upwards around 118 degrees or higher, they start to degrade. They start to kind of break apart, and then they're no longer effective in the body. So we like to keep our enzymes nice and cool. In both scenarios, with the raw probiotics and the raw enzymes, obviously the heat component is not there because no one heats their probiotics or their enzymes. When we're speaking of raw enzymes and raw probiotics at Garden of Life, we're talking about the fact that they're cultured from whole foods. They're not standardized. So there's no use of standardizing agents. There's no use of excipients, binders, and fillers. There's nothing added in there. They're just in a raw state the way that they exist in raw whole food. So that's what the raw is talking about with these two particular products. So enzymes are actually very important in our body. Okay, back in basically when the laboratory research first started about what enzymes are. Basically what was known for digestion. We needed carbohydrates from grains, we needed protein from meat, and we needed fats from dairy, and then we can be healthy. And we really didn't know about enzymes a long time ago. And then it started to kind of come into fruition that, wow, there's things in these foods that help us break down the foods. There's things in our bodies that help us break down these foods. How does digestion actually happen? How does A get to B? And so enzymes were discovered. And digestive enzymes specifically, because we have three different enzymes in our body. We have metabolic enzymes that are inherent to our body, that are made by our body, specifically mostly from the pancreas. And they break down food. Then there's digestive, they don't break down food. The metabolic enzymes actually work in the body, doing a lot of different roles than just digestion. They're involved in things like immunity, brain function, actually in the major organs, detoxification, dealing with stress. I mean, basically the biochemical reactions that metabolic enzymes are involved in there are hundreds, not even thousands. Okay, so the role of enzymes was not really discovered until a little bit later. There's one that we're going to discuss in a second. So digestive enzymes are actually living in the digestive tract, and they are kicked out and they digest our food. All right, and then there's also enzymes that are inherent to food, to raw food. All right, so enzymes are basically protein. All right, protein broken down into little pieces or amino acids. Okay, so enzymes are actually little pieces of protein in our body, and every single one has a different function. So there's literally, back in the day they knew about 80 of them. Now we know upward of 5,000 or more of them, and they all have different functions in the body. Brain function, all the way to metabolism, all the way to immunity, and they have thousands of different functions. So we have life, because without enzymes, life to happen, right? All kind of slow down and then probably eventually stop. And the reason why we know that they're key, that they're key to good digestion is as the research happened with enzymes, we came across a man named Dr. Edward Howell. And Dr. Edward Howell basically he's an MD, he's an MD in America, and he started looking at how our bodies break down food. And so he was kind of the first one to really get that when we ingest raw food, the food comes along with enzymes to actually help break it down and actually help to break down other things in our bodies. And he spoke about something called the enzyme bank account, which I mentioned the bank account with probiotics. So you can think of these things like there's a way that we get enzymes, we bring it into the body, and there's a way we use enzymes. Constantly, the body's using enzymes, right, to digest and just do any and all of the biochemical reactions we exist on every day. So what enzymes are actually doing inherently that Dr. Howell found out is that we call enzymes catalysts. So the word catalyst means it's something that speeds up or assists in a process. So enzymes are actually responsible, and that's how they are responsible for all the biochemical reactions. So to get from A to B, you need an enzyme to actually kickstart that process, to kickstart that conversion, and that's what enzymes do. So he referred to this enzyme bank account, and basically we're constantly taking in and letting go and using up of enzymes. And so as long as we keep our enzyme bank account high, our health will actually be benefited by it. So how are we able to do this? And it all comes back to the raw food. So the raw food, specifically, there's a picture here of an avocado or a mango and a pineapple. And, some of them that we know is, in pineapple we have bromelain. Bromelain's a protease. So proteases break down proteins. Amylases break down carbohydrates. Lipases break down fat. All right? So things like proteases in pineapple and papaya, those are all inherent to raw foods. So, like I said before, the raw food comes with everything it needs that's inherent for the body to break it down. And again, the same conversation. If you're not someone who is heavy on the raw food diet, we have the raw enzymes. Garden of Life has come out with, again, an enzyme product that is basically providing the body enzymes, how the body would see them in a raw whole food scenario, in a very convenient capsule to be able to take in. So these are all raw enzymes. And again, they're formulated for men and women. They're formulated for men and women of 50 and wiser. And again here, the raw concept is that these are plant-based enzymes, and they're being taken from the raw fruits and vegetables that our body needs to get enzymes. So the actual formulation is 22 different raw vegetarian enzymes. And like our raw probiotics being so potent because they're from whole food, so are the raw enzymes. The raw enzymes are very potent. They're kind of the strongest and most complete enzyme formulation available. They have very high enzyme potency levels, and we also are able to put in raw whole food created nutrients, our vitamins, into the raw enzymes as well as the whole raw probiotics. And this overtime enzyme logo, what that's meaning is we actually put probiotics, 2 particular probiotic strains, in with the enzymes because probiotics are little enzyme factories. They make enzymes for us. They make a lot of things for us. Probiotics make our B vitamins. They make vitamin K for us. They make acids that are very beneficial to the bowel. So when we add into the enzyme blend, when we add in probiotics, it's only going to help because now we have this round-the-clock idea that our probiotics are making more enzymes. And then we also add in a very powerful antioxidant with glutathione and catalase and SOD. So it's a very nice, complete formula. No, these are shelf-stable. Yeah, these are because the 2 strains that are in there are shelf-stable. All right. So, any questions about enzymes? Good. That's a good question. With the raw enzymes, there's 2 specific strains, and when we're talking about probiotics, we're talking about cultural diversity, how it's important to get a wide array of different probiotics into the body. So I would say a raw probiotic is very important as well as the enzymes. And the enzymes, you're thinking you're doing these around the time that you're eating, because when we're eating foods, natural, raw, whole foods, we're getting enzymes with it. When we cook our food, everything is cooked, crock-pot recipes, everything's cooked at very high heat, the enzyme content in our food is really not there. Once you steam a vegetable, once you boil a vegetable, the enzyme content isn't there. So the point of the raw enzymes is that if you're eating an enzyme-deficient diet, if you take a raw enzyme, before or after your meal, it's going to give you the assistance the body needs to actually break down the food. So they would not substitute a probiotic, a daily probiotic, in my mind. The probiotic you can take empty stomach, full stomach, it really doesn't matter. No, but with the enzymes, this wouldn't be something you just kind of like take in the morning with a vitamin. You want to take it around when you're ingesting an amount of food. Okay. Right. So raw probiotics you can take every day, morning, night, whenever you really want it. They're not really dependent on ingestion of food, where the raw enzymes we want to be taking it around a meal. Yeah. So we've talked about enzymes and probiotics, and the 2 of them inherently will kind of detoxify the body on their own right. Okay. So when we talk about detoxification, we're talking about cleaning the body, being free of toxins. Now, particularly what's been happening recently with people is our guts are in just bad shape. Okay, so there's what we call dysbiosis, where we said probiotic meant life, probio. Dysbio means no life. So this idea of dysbiosis, the really fancy word to just say the ratio of bacteria, good and bad, in the gut is really off. Okay, so it's causing some health deterioration in us as humans, just in general, at this time of society. So what we want to try to do is, the dysbiosis is really causing kind of a toxicity in our bodies. Because think of it, when bacteria dies off, bacteria, when it's living and dying, it kind of gives off a particular degree of toxins, particularly what we call bad bacteria. And so what's happening is we're building it up in the body. And we said before that the digestive tract was where the body absorbs things. So if you're having all this bacterial activity in the intestines, and then all the waste materials are kind of hanging out in the intestines, almost like that garbage dump that Dr. Eli Metchnikoff mentioned, your body's going to start to absorb all of that, and it's going to come into the system. So our purpose is to try to detoxify, get all of that waste out of the large intestine, the small intestine, the whole digestive tract, detoxify the major organs. And how do we do this? A lot of us know, the way I detox, I have to cleanse. I do cleansing, 3 times a year or twice a year. But what we're talking about today is the use of probiotics and enzymes to keep the digestive system up to par, to keep it balanced so that overproduction of waste and toxins does not build up. So detoxification in the body is really imperative to overall health. And it's something that can be done on a daily basis instead of letting the toxins build up and then we cleanse, right? Because if you're here with your waste and toxin level and we do a cleanse and we bring yourself down to here, that's wonderful. And then once the cleanse is over, if you go back to your old routine, you're just going to go back up. And we're just going to be bouncing between these two realms, every time we do seasonal cleansing. So the idea of daily detoxification is really where you want to get to, through raw whole foods and ingesting things in your diet that are actually going to be detoxifying every day, so that over time this level just starts to go down. So the daily detoxing will actually kind of negate the need for really aggressive seasonal cleanses. So raw foods and beverages are great for detoxifying, okay, because they include our best friends for the day, right, probiotics and enzymes. But they also include antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. And a couple ways you can do, besides food, just having how to incorporate a raw detox routine. If you're looking around your house, these are common toxins in the house. The number one thing is avoiding toxins in your environment, and that's what I think most of us think about. It's like, I'll just keep away from polluted areas, and I'll try to live by the water, or, try to be environmentally detoxified. But when we're thinking, let's go in our houses for a second. If you're thinking about things like plastics, right? How many of us drink out of plastic bottles? We store our foods, and we microwave our foods in plastic containers. This is where, we talk about PBA-free and PVCs and phthalates and all those kind of things. There's been a really high degree of people changing over to glass water bottles and maybe storing the food in ceramics and stoneware and stainless steel, okay? So trying to get away from overutilizing plastics. Everything in moderation. It's not like drinking out of one plastic bottle is going to, throw up the red flag. But if you take a look at your lifestyle and you're overutilizing plastics, that might be something you want to cut down on. Another thing is the HEPA filters in your vacuums. When you get new carpet or new furniture or a new car, that new furniture smell, those smells, those can have a lot of chemicals in them, those cleaning agents. And so when we're vacuuming our homes and we're, how that vacuum, you're vacuuming along and then kind of that filter is throwing air back out into the air, the HEPA filter is most likely going to catch all of those toxic chemicals from the carpet, from the furniture. So something simple like making sure the vacuum you're using in your home has a HEPA filter in it. And then, another obvious one's tap water. I think we've all kind of gotten on the bandwagon of needing water filters, just doing something in our environment to not just drink straight out of the tap. Different environments in different areas of the country are different. There's ways of going online and finding out, your zip code and seeing what is in your tap water profile and seeing what you need as far as water filtration, but I think that's kind of an obvious one. And then, just changing the way that what you're eating, what you're bringing into your diet. So the detoxifying foods, really powerful. We mentioned before, the kvases, the kimchis, the raw milks, the cultured, the fermented foods, the real cultured lacto-fermented foods, like the real yogurts and raw milk. Just kind of putting them into your diet, maybe not every day, hopefully every day, but even just a few times a week can make a big difference. And then turning to supplements when food isn't enough. And that's really kind of a point I want to make, is that, Garden of Life, we really feel very strongly that you should go for a diet first. People that, it's not very good to get in this particular realm of living off supplements, right? A lot of the times people think, well, if I take all my supplements and I take my greens, then I can eat whatever I want, right? But you're taking in things and that bad food that your body doesn't really necessarily need. So if you're looking to be healthy, if you're looking to up your nutrient intake, your probiotic intake, your enzyme intake, you really go to the food first. And then when food is not enough, that's where we say at Garden of Life to bring the supplements in. And some supplements that are really great for detoxing are greens. I think greens are a little bit of under the radar right now, and they're just such a wonderful thing to bring into your body. Your cereal grasses and your sea veggies, like your spirulinas and your chlorellas and red algae and things like that, and the cereal grasses themselves. We make Perfect Food and Perfect Food Raw, and Perfect Food Raw is just cereal grasses, 5 different cereal grasses, and it's 17 raw organic fruits and veggies. It's all juiced. So if you don't want to mess with the juicer at home, when you're taking a scoop out of the canister, it actually put it back into liquid. It comes into a juice form again. Really, really high nutrient density, really high potency. And just greens overall, they're very oxygenating to the body. They're very detoxifying to the body. They boost metabolism. They help you with energy. They're really just a great all-around a supplement to include into your regimen. And again, if you're not able to eat the raw whole food diet, I think a regimen of just getting a green into your system and then supplementing with probiotics and enzymes, you're going to see a real difference in your digestion and the quality of the way your body feels, the way your stomach feels after you eat. We think about eating food and after we eat, we shouldn't feel lethargic and fatigued and kind of defeated. We should feel energized and alive and more clear in our heads. We should be taking in foods that actually make us feel better, not worse. That's kind of a key to me personally. That's how I choose what I eat. If I'm eating something and afterwards I don't really feel that great, I don't really want to eat that food again. And then when I hone in on these foods that after I eat them, it's a really good day, I really feel energized, I really feel great, those are the foods I want to stick to. Just listen to your body. I think a lot of us don't listen to our bodies enough. Your body is your best friend. It's going to tell you what you need and what you don't need, and it's going to be very adamant about that sometimes. And I think if you just start to listen and be aware, it'll tell you what you need. Okay? And that's kind of what I'm talking about right now, is taking your digestion very seriously. I think we've kind of moved into this realm of eating nowadays that, if you go back to the slides 100 years ago versus today, 100 years ago, people ate food to get nutrients. We ate food because we wanted nourishment. We ate food to stay healthy. And I think now, for students, it's become kind of a recreational activity. We go out to eat food with friends and family, which is wonderful. Gathering places for friends and family are wonderful. But make good food. Eat good food. I think on-the-go foods, the quick food type of patterns that we've gotten into. I think our whole image of food has changed in society now. And it's not about what I'm going to put into my body. It's going to nourish me and keep me healthy. It's just, I'm hungry, I got to eat something that tastes good. I'm going to take it. I want my sugar. I want my carb. I want that stuff that's going to satiate me and make me feel great. Well, it's counterintuitive, because the most likely the foods that are the greatest going down, it's because it's hard for you. And you just change your ideals. You'll actually stop liking that food. I was raised in a very healthy environment. I think I was raised on everything came out of a box and a can and packaged foods, and we ate very, very little fresh food. And when I started eating fresh foods, the aggressive change at first, I was a little resistant to it. I was like, no, I don't know if I like that so much. But once I started eating fresher foods, getting out of everything in a box, everything in a can mentality, I could not believe how much better I felt. And I didn't even want that food anymore. I take a look at that packaged, sugary, chocolate-covered thing, and I don't even want it anymore. I'm kind of like, oh, that's going to make me feel like, well, I don't want it. And we'll go make something fresh, in the kitchen. So it's just taking the shift. You change your paradigm. And once you take the leap, I think you're going to really see some differences in your overall health. Just change the psychology of food. So just be proactive and incorporate, the routine that actually really supports health. And that's what Garden of Life is all about. That's why our mission is empowering extraordinary health. Because when you go back to the way we're meant to eat food and the way that we're meant to get nutrients and kind of get out of that modern day overly processed foods, your health is going to really have a change, a very big paradigm shift. All right. So what we've done today actually is we covered 2 chapters in this book. Is anybody familiar with this book? I'm sure some of you have seen it. Yeah. So there's a probiotic chapter in here about Dr. Metchnikoff. There's an enzyme chapter in here about Dr. Howell. So we've kind of covered those 2 chapters. But there's 14 other chapters in here, and it's loaded with dozens of raw recipes. And just if you're new to the raw thing, it's just kind of a nice little tutorial. It's a nice little introduction. It'll give you some really good information to start from. And we've been able to make it available online. You can go to the website and you can download it for free. Just go to gardenlife.com and just do either search through it, the website, or you can just put this whole thing in /raw truth, and you can find a free copy to download. It's just packed with information. It's a nice little starting point for you. Okay? So do you guys have any questions? The raw truth, I know that we have a few outside. We have a table under the tent, and a man named Peter is there, and I know that he has a number of copies of it. I don't know how many he has left, but you can go try and get one. And if not, we can arrange with the store to have them sent, and maybe I'll talk to Wendy about doing that and having if you want a hard copy of it, maybe having a case of them sent here for you. I'll talk to Wendy about that. We do make a kids probiotic. Thank you for bringing that up. We do make a kids version. It's a powder form, and it does say kids on it, but it's actually meant for 3 months and up. And that's another real part that I didn't really touch on today, because just trying to keep it more applicable to the crowd that's here. But if you do have children, that's a whole other can of worms as far as just the probiotic imbalance in young kids nowadays. I mean, the food that people are feeding, the way that we're feeding our kids today is just not benefiting their health, So we do actually do a kids probiotic. And I would say, I don't really like to give an age range. Because I can meet a 10-year-old that's really small, and I can meet a 12-year-old that's my size. Today you don't know. So I kind of go by size. If they're 90 pounds or higher, they kind of have an adult physique going on, I would say that it's fine to do the adult probiotic. But if they're still, a kid, in that kind of framework and physique, I would stick with the kids. And the fact that it's a powder is nice. You can put it in their beverage. They probably won't even taste it. They won't even know it. But I kind of hate when people say, oh, we won't even know it. We'll just sneak it in the food. I like the idea that people are teaching their kids. Like, oh, this is what this is, and this is why I'm giving it to you, and teaching them about what a probiotic is and things like that. There's been wonderful testimonies about the kids' probiotics when they're used for babies. For things like colic and gas and just that really overall discomfort of young babies with the formulas and the different trials and tribulations of sensitivities of formulas. You put the powder right in the bottle, and we've had miraculous testimonials about colic clearing up in 24 hours and really providing really great relief to young babies. So, yeah. Any other questions? No? So I hope you enjoy the day, and eat your veggies and eat them raw.